Hello, many thanks for joining us on Nationwide on Africa's largest television network. I'm Ian John. President Muhammadu Buhari has described the momentum of his electoral victory in 2015 as synonymous with the vote of the Nigerian people against glaring endemic corruption. He therefore vowed to remain steadfast at ensuring that those who plundered the nation's commonwealth are held to account for their actions as efforts promoting integrity and transparency in the process of governance continue. This was while declaring open the corruption risk assessment training for heads of anti-corruption agencies in the African Union in Abuja. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details, and that report will be brought to you in our subsequent bulletin. Moving on, as the African Youth Congress Against Corruption enters the second day, Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema has challenged the participants to prevail on their government to create mechanisms that will enhance transparency, accountability and effective use of resources for the development of the continent. Foreign Desk correspondent Makud Simon Marcham reports.
The African Youth Congress Against Corruption is one of the strategies adopted by President Muhammadu Buhari in carrying out his mandate as the African anti-corruption champion. This consolidates his meetings with his African counterparts on several occasions, as well as other world leaders, including international agencies such as the United Nations, where he called for action.
We believe very firmly that victory shall be ours in the end against corruption. As our president always says, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us. And that's not going to happen. All of us working together will definitely kill corruption, and that is something that we absolutely have to do.
This two-day youth congress that has young leaders from 54 African countries is therefore another major step that deepens the sustainability of the steps initiated by President Muhammadu Buhari in championing the theme of the African Union 2018, which is winning the fight against corruption, a sustainable path to Africa's transformation. In Abuja, Makud Simon Marcham, NTA News.
To ensure that the anti-corruption drive of the present administration trickles down to sub-national levels, a national anti-corruption strategy summit is taking place in Abuja, with attorney generals of states in the country attending to scale up the process. Omenka Amarachuku reports.
Leaders and key players in the judicial sector who seek to review the anti-corruption strategy for more effective implementations. It is a process that started in 2007 to address the menace of corruption in Nigeria by finding more effective and sustainable ways than previous attempts.
To build the capacity to do a kind of a legal framework, look at those laws which need to be amended, we amend it. The one that needed to be pushed to the National Assembly, we look at it. That's why we also invite the National Assembly. So essentially is to synergize among all the stakeholders, to ensure that at least the strategy is made known to the whole world, sell it to other states.
Among the strategies recommended here are preventive and enforcement interventions to strengthen the corruption control drive in the country. In Abuja, Omenka Amarachuku, NTA News.
And away from corruption matters, as campaign begins for the 2019 general elections, the issue of campaign financing has once again been brought to the fore. Guests on NTA's flagship program, Good Morning Nigeria, have advocated regulation and monitoring of campaign financing to ensure inclusiveness and protect the integrity of the electoral process. Abdulsalam Jibril has details.
Many countries, including Nigeria, have indeed written into their electoral laws, rules, and procedures on campaign financing. This is to ensure that Nigeria's democracy is not hijacked by money bags or prevent the undue use of money and to preserve the people's sovereignty. Assistant Director in charge of Campaign Finance Tracking, INEC, Abubakar Ishaq Garuba, while noting that campaign finance is a global challenge, says the Commission has set up an interagency committee saddled with the responsibility of tracking political expenditure of candidates.
We have put machinery in action to monitor at all levels, national, state, and local government level.
Other guests on the program called for enforcement and efficient systematic record keeping that can monitor candidates' expenditure.
It is expected that there should be a systematic way of tracking whatever contribution is made to a particular campaign. But what happens is that such records never really exist.
We need to put some bottlenecks. We need to put some stalls in ensuring that people who can buy everything do not take everything.
If you don't have sanity in the process, it is going to be, a total alienation of decent, responsible, quality, qualified, responsible, and patriotic Nigerians.
They also called for the collaboration of government agencies and civil society in monitoring, tracking, and enforcing the laws on campaign funds towards ensuring the sustenance of Nigeria's democracy. In Abuja, Abdul Salam Jubril, NTA News.
The Police Officers' Wives Association is adding its voice to advocate for unity, hard work, dedication and sacrifice among members of the force to achieve peaceful, free and credible elections. This was re-echoed at the association's empowerment of widows across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. The report.
With this empowerment, we are going to achieve our hardship.
With this, I can help my family, the organization, and everybody around me.
Give someone the tool to fish, and then he will never be hungry.
These testimonies by Suwaiba Musa and Victoria Matthew reflect the voices of many widows of police officers who are clamoring for youths to channel their strength towards positive development. They are particular about the 2019 election, which the youth should not allow themselves to be used as thugs, but rather work towards a violent-free exercise.
Who has been displaced because of the insurgency and flood, and also empowering the widows of our fallen police officers and men.
They have to be non-partisan, and they have to discharge their duty as a constitutional state.
Keep them at home, keep them occupied, so that at least they will not be used as scapegoats.
The police officers' wives acknowledge with delight the recent salary increment for the police by President Buhari, which they said will further motivate their spouses to effectively discharge their duties.
It has really changed the lives of police officers by doing this.
Everything you do, motivation plays a big role. Our gallant police officers and men will put more effort.
And now heading to Niger State, President Muhammadu Buhari's re-election bid has received a boost in Niger with the donation of 110 buses by the legislator representing Chanchaga Federal Constituency, Umar Mohammed Bago, for the campaign activities of the president and Governor Abubakar Sani Bello in the state. Suleiman Kodogi covered the presentation of the vehicles to be distributed to all the 25 local government areas of the state for campaign activities of the president and the governor.
The 110 vehicles branded with President Muhammadu Buhari and Governor Abubakar Sani Bello's pictures are expected to be shared among youth groups, market women, religious body, and the APC executives across the 25 local government areas of the state. Niger State Governor Abubakar Sani Bello, represented by his deputy Ahmed Muhammad Ketso, re-echoed the achievements of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration in the face of the nation's economic challenges.
considering the kind of unity that we have established so far, and by special grace of God, 2019, APC will come out victorious.
State APC Chairman Muhammad Jibril Imam, who spoke on behalf of the national chairman of the party, Comrade Adams Oshomole, appreciated all for their continued confidence in the APC-led administration at all levels of governance, even as he assured of the party's victory come 2019. The convener, Muhammad Umar Bago, who is seeking re-election for a third time to represent Chanchaga Federal Constituency on the platform of the All Progressive Congress, APC, at the 2019 general elections, and if re-elected, will make history in Chanchaga Federal Constituency.
I will collaborate with the presidency and make sure that all necessary bills are put into use.
President Muhammad Buhari is all about Nigeria. He has nothing to himself.
High points of the flag-off was the symbolic presentation of keys of the vehicles to different beneficiaries in Mina. Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
And away from politics, Zamfara state government has directed that henceforth intending animal sellers must have their photographs taken before they gain entrance to any animal market across the state. The State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Alhaji Dakande Gamji, announced the new policy at a meeting with relevant stakeholders in Gusau.
The stakeholders meeting, attended by some local government councils chairmen, traditional rulers, heads of animals markets, officials of cattle dealers association, and those of meat sellers union from across the 14 local government areas of Zamfara state, was convened as part of strategies being adopted to address the prevailing security challenges facing the state. The meeting specifically discussed the activities of cattle rustlers who have continued to find their ways to markets in the state to sell stolen animals. Some of the participants advocated for immediate closure of a number of animals markets across the state that are said to have conspicuously become havens for stolen cows. Earlier, the State Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Alhaji Bello Dankande Gamji, said the state government has directed that henceforth, intending animal sellers must have their photographs taken along with the animals before they get entrance into any of the animals markets in the state. He said photographers will be stationed at all the approved animals markets across the state for the successful implementation of the new strategy. The animals affected by the new policy include cows, camels, horses and donkeys. Emir of Vongodu Alhaji Hassan Attahiru blamed the proliferation of rustle animals in the state on the support the bandits enjoyed from the middlemen at the markets. The new policy takes effect from Monday 10th December 2018. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
It's now time to move over to Lagos as president of the Nigerian Bar Association is arraigned over money laundering. Hingino is our guide. Hello, Hingino.
Thank you, Ian, and welcome to Lagos. Justice Muslim Hassan of the Federal High Court sitting at Ikoyi, Lagos, has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to effect service of charge on the Nigerian Bar Association President Paul Usoro, SAN. The order followed the inability of the EFCC to arraign Mr. Usoro over alleged 1.4 billion naira fraud against him. Vera Chinoba has more.
The NBA president, Paul Osoro, arrived at the court premises shortly before 8 o'clock in the morning in the company of his wife, a team of senior learned advocates and lawyers. The planned arraignment of Mr. Osoro over alleged fraud to the tune of 1.4 billion naira was forestalled following the inability of the EFCC to effect personal service on him. EFCC counsel Rotimi Oyedepo informed the court that attempts to serve Osoro with the charge have not been successful, even when the commission had repeatedly put calls across to him, seeking his presence at the commission's office to effect service on him. He also told the court that service cannot be effected on him in the courtroom because the commission's investigative officer, who is in a position to serve him, is at the commission's office in Abuja. The prosecution counsel, Wale Olanipekun, argued that he had perused the provisions of Administration of Criminal Justice Act and found no section required the presence of a defendant at the commission's office to pick up his charge. He urged the commission to serve him in court This resulted in a noisy courtroom, but was put under control. Justice Muslim Hassan ordered the EFCC to effect service of charge on the NBA president. He will be arraigned on the 18th of December. In Lagos, Viera Chumba, NTA News.
As the world marks Anti-Corruption Day, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, says the commission remains committed to winning the war against corruption in the country. Director Operations, EFCC Lagos Zone, Muhammad Abba, stated this at an anti-corruption walk in commemoration of the World's Anti-Corruption Day in Lagos. Abolade Salami reports.
According to the United Nations report, corruption cost the world economy about $2.6 trillion annually. This figure represents more than 5% of the global GDP. It is in view of this that the international body sets aside 9th of December annually to draw attention to the challenge that corruption posed to the world. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in its enlightenment campaign against corruption, staged an anti-corruption walk from its Ikoyi office en route to Tafawa Balewa Square to Obalende, where members displayed placards with various inscriptions such as "Say no to corruption, every no counts. We must kill the dreaded monster corruption."
And arguably, corruption is serious crime that can undermine the socio-economic development of any country. Nigeria is not an exception, as corruption is the main reason for her stunted growth. The Commission, under the leadership of Magu, has vowed that there will be no longer any hiding place.
The anti-corruption march also focused on the need to expose illicit deals capable of dragging the country into disrepute among Committee of Nations.
EFCC, for the steadfastness in the fight against corruption. Government has been proactive, but we also need a lot of more encouragement.
The Director of Operations, Mohammed Abba, re-emphasized that the Commission will not be deterred in its efforts at curtailing the menace. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
The United Nations Information Center is examining ways to ensure effective implementation of the Universal Human Rights. This was at the 70th UN Human Rights Day celebration held in Lagos. Ruth Ario Samuel reports.
Following the speech by the UN General Secretary and in celebration of the 70th Human Rights Day, the United Nations Information Center gathered officers from the various security outfits in Lagos, Human Rights Commission, civil societies, and all interested in human rights issues to remind themselves of the human rights standards and also append their signatures to the Human Rights Pledge. Let's hear from the country director, UNIC, Mr. Ronald Kayanja, to tell us more on human rights.
70 years down the road, we still see violations of people's rights, not only in Africa, but all over the world. So it is a day also to remind ourselves that people should know more about their rights, and those who should protect the rights of people around the world should do more to protect these rights.
I will continue to lecture the men that rights are supposed to be obeyed, they're sacrosanct, and every other thing we must do must be in compliance with the law.
A lot of people feel powerless to protect their rights, to protect themselves, and that is where Human Rights Commission comes in.
The rights of the inmates must be protected, and in doing this, we ensure that no inmate is tortured in our custody.
In NAPTIP, we believe that justice is three prongs: justice to the victim, justice to the state, and justice even to the suspect.
This year's Human Rights Day with theme Stand Up for Human Rights marks the end of the 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls and marks the beginning of a year-long celebration of 70 years since the international community adopted the declaration. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Ruth. That is the size of our package in Lagos. Time to join Nura in our Sokoto Network Center. Nura, it's over to you.
Thank you, Ingnan. Welcome to Sokoto. 1,200 women in Kebbi State have been empowered through the NDE microcredit and cosmetology. Osman Abdullahi Shehu reports that the empowerment program is a collaborative effort between NDE and the state government. the report.
Support involves 700 women who each received 10,000 naira cash, while the second category of 500 women collected 5,000 naira cash and cosmetology starter kit worth 40,000 naira.
Also inform women at home that the state government, the local governments are partnering to ensure that loan support is provided to all categories so that each and everyone can continue to do better.
They should utilize it judiciously because opportunity, they say, comes once. And the fact that federal government under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari remember them to do this thing for them, I think they should utilize it judiciously.
The beneficiaries were earlier trained in different skills from the NDE to be able to manage and utilize the support given to them to start businesses for self-reliance. Beneficiaries expressed gratitude for the gesture, pointing out that it will impact positively on their business and lives. Stakeholders at the occasion urged the beneficiaries to judiciously use the support given to them wisely for their benefit. The Directorate is expected to commence another training of 1,000 youths in different skills in the state. Bringing Kebi, Usman Abdullahi Shehu, NTA News.
Participants from the African universities are currently attending an international conference organized by Zindar University to mark the 58th independence anniversary of Niger Republic. Muhammad Nasir brings us live happening at the venue of the international conference.
In Zindar, Niger Republic, and part of 58th independence anniversary of the country, the Zindar University organized international conference with the theme Cultural Rivers for the socio-economic development of Zindar region, Niger Republic, and Africa in general. Here with me is Professor Aliou Mohamed Banza.
Zindar was an ancient Hausa kingdom far back 18th century. Secondly, the inhabitants of Zindar are Hausas, Zarma, Kanuri, and very few Fulani. So in Nigeria, so the culture being an inbuilt and a complete way of life, the culture of Hausa, Zarma, Kanuri of Niger and Nigeria are very similar.
Being the event an international conference, people from all countries in the world are trooping to witness the event.
I came here to represent the French embassy because we are very happy to participate to this scientific meeting we organized with the Nigerian Niger University to celebrate the Niger National Day.
With me here in the hall is Professor Muhammad Aliou Tamaski.
The most important thing in this occasion is that many people, many researchers, many people from cultural areas come here to talk, to understand the meanings of cultural relations between our societies in Africa.
As the occasion is about to start, people have already taken their seat. It is expected that at the end of the event, the objectives could be achieved. And NTA will continue to give you details of the occasion. In Zindar, Niger Republic, I am Muhammad Nasir, NTA News.
News Nationwide continues after this commercial break. Stay tuned.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There is no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
The second edition of the Ratao NTA Headquarters Chapter Staff Day celebration will hold on 14th December 2018. Highlights of the event include Best Staff Awards, presentation of awards to distinguished members of the society, which will include Deputy Governor of Kano State, Dr. Nasiru Yusuf Gawuna, Abike Dabiri, Senior Special Advisor to the President on Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, Dr. Boboye Oyeyemi, Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, Justice Usman Bello, FCT Chief Judge, and others. Speakers: Onoja Isaac, pharmacist and emotional intelligence expert; Okorie Daniel, CEO, Ionized Kagem Water Limited. Venue: NTA Arena, NTA Headquarters, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. Time: 4 p.m. prompt. Join us and celebrate our staff, the pride of our organization. Great NTA staff.
I am Alioha Emmanuel Nhechinaise. I'm from Imo State. My husband is from Abia State. I reside here in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State, in Irenwo community. I've been a cassava farmer, and I noticed there is not much money in cassava farming alone. So when I heard about Empower program, I applied for it, and they gave me the opportunity to be part of it. It was from Empower program that I learned how to process cassava tubers to cassava fufu flour. This Empower program is the best thing that happened to me within these 2 years. I've really learned a lot, and I've really gained a lot from it. It was from my stipend that I bought my equipment that I'm using to process cassava flour today. I'm grateful to the federal government for giving us this device. I've really learned a lot from it, from the application and all that.
2019 elections is approaching. While making up your mind on who to vote in every part of Nigeria, remember, corruption kills. It results in poorly equipped hospitals, poorly constructed bridges, poor quality of education, lack of jobs, poor quality of healthcare, lack of quality housing, deprivation and suffering, economic depression. It drives away foreign investment. It brings about lack of infrastructure. It is an embarrassment to our nation. At the federal level, in every state, in every local government, vote wisely. Elect leaders with integrity and proven character. That is one critical step towards building a great nation. You have a role to play. Vote wisely.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Glad to have you back. Most people wake up every morning, see the beauty around them, and sometimes forget to thank God. While others wake up and the only difference from the night is probably the sound, because such people live in complete darkness and unable to enjoy all the beauty that others readily take for granted. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday met this category of people who are students as they use their voices to thank God in celebrating the 2018 International Disability Day.
After the launch of the survey, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoita, advocated more supports for the students.
They shouldn't be allowed to feel that because of their visual impairment, they should be relegated to the background. So definitely I want to champion that they are given more exposure and more training and more opportunities to share their talent.
Another interesting thing about their school is that it is headed by a visually impaired.
Aspects of training them in the primary education and graduating them into the secondary school and even following them up even after they leave us. We've graduated lawyers, linguists, social workers, and a lot more teachers, lecturers. We've graduated over 100 since we started.
For the students, Even if they live by heightened sense of smell, sound and touch, they put their hands in God's hands to help them in times of need.
As my condition, I still seek to touch people's life, to turn to God Almighty. And my school, they are doing very well in supporting the choir.
The students are all from FCT School of the Blind, which comprises children from age 4 to 18 in primary 1 to 6. Adebola, Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
Many thanks, Adebola. And away from Nigeria now, over 150 government delegates, heads of state and senior government officials are in Morocco for the United Nations-led conference on migration. Joy Osiago reports that the focus of the conversation is on the Global Compact for safe, orderly and regular migration.
On the Global Compact for Migration is the first ever intergovernmentally negotiated agreement encompassing all dimensions of international migration in a holistic manner. The compact emanated from the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants, adopted unanimously by the United Nations General Assembly in September 2016, and a culmination of 18 months of dialogue and consultations among member states, civil society, the private and public sectors, and migrants.
One of the most significant features of the Global Compact is its recognition of the essential role to be played by many actors, including governments and migrants themselves, of course, but also civil society, academia, trade unions, the private sector, diaspora groups, local communities, parliamentarians, national human rights institutions, and the media.
As a document, it is not a legally binding document, but it has at its core a willingness for member states to cooperate with each other. Member states came to realize that even though this is a matter of national sovereignty, it is inevitably a matter of state interdependence, that the best way to have your national policies implemented is through the cooperation of your neighbors and more globally of other states.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized that the International Organization for Migration, IOM, will play a crucial role in the activities of the newly created United Nations Network on Migration. Nigeria's permanent representative to the United Nations, Professor Tijani Bande, has joined the Nigerian delegation for the Global Forum on Migration and Development already in Marrakesh, led by Federal Commissioner for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Sadia Umar Farouk, for the GCM deliberations. In Marrakesh, Morocco, Joy Usiago, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Global Forum on Migration and Development, GFMD, that heralded the adoption of the Global Compact on Migration has ended in Marrakesh, Morocco. Joy Osiago again reports.
For many supporting member states, the Global Forum on Migration and Development, GFMD, is about realizing that migration will continue to evolve. Therefore, it's time to come out of the closet with conviction to strengthen the case of global governance for migration and development.
Each one person of those tens and hundreds of millions, there is a story behind it. There is a link. There is a human being with aspiration, with challenges, with issues that need to be addressed.
Our challenge will be to not just continue to learn and exchange, but to shift from discussing pilots and evidence to seeing policy change, programs at scale, replication, and significant investments.
Let's celebrate the controversy and let's engage.
The GFMD should also serve as the technical body for the Global Compact on Migration once it is adopted. It should also be at the forefront of implementing really the Global Compact on Migration. And there should also be linkages between the GFMD and the UN Network for Migration, as well as the Global Compact on Migration.
This particular meeting and the compact that is going to be accepted by other countries has become a framework to give migrants a very good, comfortable law protecting their stay in any country they find themselves, be it transit, be it destination.
Delegates are moving on to join the bigger United Nations Conference on Migration, also in Morocco. In Marrakesh, Morocco, Joy Usiago, NTA News.
Back home, the chairman of Senate Committee on INEC, Senator Suleiman Nazif, says vote buying must be subverted to ensure a hitch-free 2019 general elections. He said this at an ongoing public hearing on vote buying and improving electoral process in Nigeria, organized by the National Assembly Joint Committee on INEC. The public hearing is aimed at sensitizing the public on the negative effect of vote buying and improving electoral process in Nigeria.
This committee, within its lifespan, is determined to lay a solid foundation of improving electoral processes in Nigeria.
It must deal with this ill such in a manner that does not detract from the credibility and legitimacy of the 2019 election.
For all people of goodwill in our country to rise in condemnation and denunciation of vote buying and all forms of electoral malpractices.
The committee charged all relevant stakeholders to come up with resolutions that could improve on the electoral process before the 2019 general elections. Benin is our next port of call as Minister of State Works inspects Benin-Auchi Road. Let's join Obehi Otoba Prasai for details.
Thank you, Larry, for joining us in Benin. There are indications that commuters plying the Benin-Auchi-Okene Highway will be spared the usual traffic ordeal associated with the Yuletide. This is because contractors handling the dualization project have been given a marching order to expedite work on the route. Minister of State for Works Mustafa Shewri was on inspection of the project. In recognition of the socio-economic importance of the Benin-Auchi-Okene Road, the federal government awarded the contract to dualize the road in 2012. The contractors mobilized to site in 2013. The pace of the work, however, slowed down for over 2 years, following issues of compensation. In 2017, the situation changed. Contractors returned to site and the pace of work increased.
Look at the level of mobilization, at the site. Almost all the equipments that are needed for road construction are there.
The 63.7 kilometers project is segmented into 3 sections and awarded to 3 different construction companies.
We are continuously working together with the ministry to try and ensure that the road will be motorable before Christmas.
The project is expected to be completed in 2020. Vote buying and selling has become a source of worry with increasing cases in recent elections. It is for this reason the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is sensitizing the public to the negative consequences of this menace and other acts of corruption as it commemorates the International Anti-Corruption Day with a walk. Agatha Egwarojo is also on the walk. Agatha, bring us up to speed on what's happening.
Was the United Nations International Anti-Corruption Day. It was to raise awareness to the dangers corruption poses to sustainable growth and development. Now, it's in commemoration of this day that the Benin Zonal Office of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is taking this walk. From the Obavorame Square, that's the popular ring road in Benin City, we have moved through major streets and business districts, sensitizing the people to the evil of corruption and asking them to join President Muhammadu Buhari in the fight against corruption. And here with me is the head of the Benin Zonal Office, Melafia Yakubu. So, sir, can you tell these medical practitioners